Hello and welcome to Shortcuts with Paul deMarco, that's me. This is a series of guitar lessons that's going to open up some things from basic to more advanced, but try and cut out some of the time wasting things that we might miss along the way. The idea behind Shortcuts is that through learning the instrument myself and learning music, I've noticed there are things that you can do along the way that speed up your learning process. Things that I discovered after I'd spent too much time doing it, and hopefully it can save you some time. Shortcuts, not a shortcut as in bypassing practice. Practice you can't replace. As much practice as you can do will determine how good you'll be and how fast you'll get better. But Shortcuts just points out some things along the way that you may not notice otherwise that can just speed up the knowledge growing process as you go. So what better place to start than tuning your instrument? Now, most of you probably use a guitar tuner to tune your guitar, but there is a more traditional way of doing it. Let's say you're on a desert island and all you had was your guitar and it was out of tune. How do you figure out how to tune it? Well, this is the way of tuning. Let's assume that your bottom E is in tune, bottom E being the low string. And then what we do is we tune every relevant string by using the string before it. So for example, we now know that E's in tune. So I want to tune the A string. So what I'll do is I'll play fret 5 on the E string, and I want these two notes to sound the same. If they don't sound the same, let's say my A is flat, you'll hear this. Now if you try that, you'll hear that there's like a wobbling sound between the strings. We want to even that out, and the reason it's wobbling is because they're not both playing the same pitch, so they're bashing against each other. So let's try and tune them in and watch the wobble change. You'll now notice the wobble's gone, they're both in tune. So we play fret 5 on the E string and play the open A, and we tune the A string. Now the great thing about a lot of things that we learn on the guitar is this can repeat from string to string. So now I want to tune the D string, which is my 4th string, and I tune it using the A string, which I now know is in tune. So I play fret 5 on the A string to tune the D. And again, if there's no wobbly sound, you know they're in tune. And just moving on to the next string, I now want to tune the 3rd string, which is the G, and I'm going to play fret 5 on the D string. Until they sound the same. Now I know they're both in tune. Now it would be great if every single one of those strings tunes all on the 5th fret, but it doesn't. On the B string, which is the 2nd string, this is slightly different. So I'm now going to tune it using the G, which I've just tuned, but I'm going to, rather than play fret 5, I'm going to play fret 4. So I'm just going to go back 1 fret. Now try and remember that for videos to come. When you're playing the B string, it's always 1 fret ahead of the other strings. So it means I have to go back to tune it. So I'm going to play 4th fret this time on the G, and that's going to tune my B string. And again, play them until there's no wobbly sound between the two strings, which tells you they're in tune. Now the good thing is, we now go back to fret 5 to tune the top E, and we're going to play fret 5 on the B string to play that to tune that top E. And once again, just tune it till that wobbliness has gone and they're all in tune. Now, if you're using a guitar with a vibrato system or a Floyd Rose whammy system, maybe just go back over the strings now, because if some were really out and you tuned them, it may have put the others out a little bit. So now we're in tune, which is great. But where were the shortcuts? Well, there's a few things that we did along the way which I'll have mentioned that you may or may not have learnt from, so I'm going to point them out this time. Now, if I was to say to you, how many notes on the neck of the guitar do you know? If you're an absolute beginner, you might say none. Or, if you've been playing for a little bit and you've learnt the open strings, you'll say, well, I know 6, I know the bottom string is E, the 5th string is A, the 4th string is D, the 3rd string is G, the 2nd string is B, and the top string, the high string, is E. So you may know that. But the good thing about this tuning is it doubles your knowledge of these notes. So you might know all those open strings. Do you know any of the frets along the neck of the guitar? You might say, no, I haven't learnt that yet. Well, we've just learnt another 6 notes on the guitar. How? Well, first of all, we've learnt that if we tune the A string with the E string, we play fret 5, and we want those 2 notes to sound the same. So if they sound the same, it means they're the same note. So that means if I'm tuning my A string and I'm playing fret 5 on the E, that means fret 5 on the E string is an A note, because I'm using it to tune the A string. Those 2 notes are the same. Open A is the same as fret 5 on the E string. So there you go. So now you know 6 notes, now you know 7. So there. And notes along the bottom string are really handy to know, which we'll notice as these videos go on. So let's think the same thing about the next string. We also learned that when I tune the 4th string, which is the D, I play fret 5 on the A string. So that means fret 5 on the A string must be D, because these 2 notes sound the same. Same on the next string, I want to tune the G, and I play fret 5 on the D string, which means fret 5 must be a D note. Okay, so I've learnt open strings, but then I've also learnt that's an A, that's a D, and that's a G. Now remember, to tune the B string we go back a fret. Okay, so I'm on fret 5 on the G, which will tune my B string, which means fret 4. Fret 4 on the G must be a B note. And then back to fret 5 again for the top string. Top string is E, and we're playing fret 5 on the B string, which means that must be an E note. So you learnt open strings E, A, D, G, B, and E. And you've also learnt through tuning A, this is 5th fret, A, D, G, B, and E. Now, something else to point out as well is, as we've been going along, do you notice that the top string and the bottom string are both called E? So anything you play on this bottom string is going to be the same on the top string. So if I've learnt that that's A, that also means that that's A on the top string as well, because it just repeats. So you knew no notes, then you learnt the open strings, so you knew 6. Then you learnt to tune your guitar, so you learnt another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then you recognised that bottom E and top E are the same note, so you've learnt another 6. So in effect, you've doubled your knowledge. Tripled it if you knew nothing, because you learnt the 6 strings, and then you learnt the tuning notes on fret 5 and 4 with the B, remember? And so you've doubled your knowledge. Now that's what I call a shortcut, because that will come into play later on as we're learning scales and chords and being able to move around the neck of the guitar a lot more. You'll notice that there's a lot more knowledge that you can pile up on top of that. Okay. So the other thing that it does as well is tuning in this way is it trains the ear. I have a thing that I called say it as you play it, and this is really important in training the brain to recognise notes. As you play a note, if I'm going, okay, this is my open E string. Right, my brain or my ears hear that, send a message to my brain. That's one message. However, if I say E, I'm hearing it, I'm saying it, and I'm hearing myself say it. So extra synapses are created, extra messages are sent to the brain that will help you remember things. So always try, whether it's chords, scales, notes, always try, say it as you play it. And it just trains the brain to remember what it is that you're trying to learn. This will speed up your learning process and will really help you to advance much faster than you would otherwise. And time's precious. We all want to learn as fast as possible, and hopefully these shortcuts will be able to help you to do that. So, thank you for tuning in, and literally tuning in on this episode. And next episode, we'll try and learn a little bit extra about how we can learn more on the instrument, but find shortcuts along the way which can double, maybe even triple the knowledge that we learn in one sitting. So, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.